There are two types of people. One who are sensitive type. If you put in too much pressure on them, they buckle under pressure, right? And one are other type are thick skin type. It doesn't matter to them. So my hypothesis to you is, you know, in both ways, the performance appraisal or performance or feedback which is happening is on one hand, it is adding unnecessary tension to one employee. On the other hand, other guy is just gaming the system. So what is the right way to sort of get this feedback? Are you seeing these kind of things in the organization that, one is gaming and other is, struggling with stress and tension?
So I saw this and was thinking what to do. So I tried to implement something which ran very successfully, and I called it the monthly reflection, wherein you prepare your own reflection sheet, and whoever is the designated person who's going to be taking your reflection, you are going to come and tell what you did, whether you did it correctly, whether you did it in the wrong manner, and what is the scope of improvement in there. So I felt that because I tried to promote that, it's competing with yourself. How did you do and how you wanted to improve? It's not competing with your colleagues. If you're competing with yourself and you're improving day by day, ultimately you're going to do well on the larger canvas. So that was something which I implemented and I got great response for that.
So anything for the quality of feedback, there are two parties to it. One is a giver and the other is a receiver. So while, yes, receiver may or may not behave in the anticipated way. So there is a lot of coaching required at the side of feedback giver as well, of how and what ways they can. And that's where, if we look at, I have been fortunate enough to be part of the organizations where managing difficult conversations was always part of the leadership development program, in which we were taught how to manage difficult conversations. And this difficult conversation is also also managing sensitivity of the person whom you are giving the feedback. So very clear, it is the part of the overall training and capacity development of the people who are supposed to manage this. And that's where these are the kind of unique skill sets which one inculcates, works upon them. Of course, they also receive the feedback and then they develop and then they become a good mentor. So that's why not everyone is a mentor, and that's why not everyone is a leader. So it is important that organizations do work on such kind of things, and then where they inculcate this whole point of providing right feedback. And again, I'll come to the same point which I made earlier. We need to decouple these two things very clearly: performance review and performance appraisal. Performance appraisal is more towards some targets and something where an outcome of it is some kind of a reward in form of incentives, in form of promotion. That's one thing. Performance feedback is more about unlocking the potential of an individual depending upon the strengths and weaknesses of that person, so that they can work upon their weaknesses and align themselves with the organizational goal. I have seen examples in my life where a person may not be fit based upon their particular potential. They might not be fit for that kind of an industry or sector. And the good mentors have actually given that kind of a feedback and helped them find their mojo in a different sector altogether. So what I feel is this concurrent feedback, the frequency, we may contest that what should be the frequency, but a real-time feedback is something which definitely helps most of the people.
So handling difficult conversation, letting people set their own goals, and the difference that you're talking about, review and appraisal, right? Anything, what's
yes,
your...
again, sir, at the end of the year, we all understand that someone has to provide some kind of, compensation or whatever, or benefits. But the two things has to be delinked. And I agree with all of you that the important aspect is identifying someone's developmental area, opportunities for improvement areas. What is the objective of doing all of this? Is for organizational development, trying to understand the individual, trying to understand his potential areas where he can flourish and contribute to the organizational goals. So, if you want to help that, you don't need to provide a kind of, calling him in a room and a meeting with agenda. It can be given in a many ways, in a informal ways. That I personally feel that is something like, you have to engage with the employees, and that engagement, that one has to enhance the engagement level, and that can happen in a multiple way. Not necessarily you have to call that person inside your room and give feedback. No, you can actually, if you are a leader, you have to handhold, you have to be by his side. In some pressure situations we have found, because in a airport sector, in a service industry, most of the time we are in a kind of situations where we find it hard. We do not have answers to all the challenges that we encounter. Now, in that kind of situations, I also do not know what is right or wrong or how it has to be done. Then, that is what, you have to jointly evolve solutions, and you have to work with that individual. That is what is, I believe, as a leader, one has the responsibility of doing that. And that's how the person will trigger that, that he or she will find out that what exactly is required out of him. And you don't need to call him at the end of the year and tell him, no, you did this wrong or that wrong, I will give you 3 out of 5. No. And he knows that by giving that, he has a direct impact. His paycheck is going to get reduced. So the two has to delink, and the last but not the least, we all know what in our organizational review also, what we do. We review certain KPIs, and those KPIs are either some lag indicators or lead indicators. And all organizations focus on lead indicators, which we all know that cannot give result in in a month or so. Some strategic initiatives we all know that can derive you benefits, and it takes time, sometimes 6 to 12 months or 1.5 years or so, or even more. So one has to understand that. Two has to be delinked. If your focus is on development of the people, then it has to be, the positive reinforcement, that aspect has to be brought in. Don't try to pin down someone and say, you did this wrong and that is why I am giving you 3 at the end of the year. That is my point.
So so what you're trying to say is developmental process is different when you don't know what's there in future. Very difficult to sort of do it in a very linear manner. And you're also saying it's very emergent. Things are very emergent in a way, right? So when things are very emergent, don't you think that the entire purpose of having very linearized KPIs, it doesn't make sense, because people don't develop in a linear fashion. It's not like, today I'm improving by 1, next day another one. Maybe you are sort of stable, and then all of a sudden you rise to another level, another rise. That's how excellence probably works. It's evolutionary as well as very discontinuous process. So, I mean, what's your views on that in terms of, handling that evolutionary, emergent, discontinuous process, right?
Yeah. So first, let me react to what both of them talked about, handling a difficult situation, or to your original question of, there's one thick-skinned guy and one, sensitive guy. And I've seen 2 organizations at both ends of the spectrum. One which says bottom 10% out every year, right? So very competitive, so-called meritocracy, and you take the bottom performers out every year. And the other which says, okay, everyone will get same increment, same bonuses, same rating, because we are all a team. The bank or the company performs at a certain level and everyone gets, right? But I think both have their own challenges and the thing. in situations which I have faced where there is a difficult conversation, either to a sensitive person or to a thick-skinned guy, where you have to give feedback, I think what has helped is one, honesty. You have to be absolutely honest on what you think is the issue, and I think the other person gets it, no matter whether he agrees at that point in time or not, but he gets it. Honesty, and the other is transparency. And we would try to beat around the bush and hide things. So, I've been in situations where we had to lay off people because the organization was shutting down. But if you're able to put it honestly and transparently in front of people, they understand, you help them through the process. If they see that genuine effort, they help you in that process. They help you receive the feedback. They help you through that process. And coming to your process, question about non-linear situations, and I think today we live in a world which is the only skill you need is the ability to learn every day. How can you teach your kids the ability to learn something new? Because we don't know what are the kind of jobs which will exist 5 years, 10 years from now. Probably they don't even exist today. Right? So the only way you can prepare for those kind of jobs is to be agile, to have that ability to be curious, to be, to put in the effort and be ready to learn. So,